her brow and looking confused. Wilson just smiled and shook his head. He loved his friends, but Clementine's mind was usually in a bucket of paint someplace, or sitting in a kiln with her pottery. She didn't know or care much about prehistoric beasts.
Ichthyosaur, Amal said. It means fish lizard. Right, Wilson?
Wilson nodded. Yep, he said as he pushed open the museum's heavy front doors. The four friends stepped into the huge front chamber. The Natural History Museum was the oldest museum in the capital city network, and you could tell the moment you walked in. Everything was wooden and heavy and looked like it had been around for decades. Right in the front room, which was so big that the Kippers' whole house could probably fit inside, stood the most famous dinosaur skeleton in the museum's collection, the monstrous Allosaurus. It leaned down so that its huge head stuck way out over the velvet rope that surrounded the skeleton. The dinosaur's huge mouth was open, like it was about to roar or eat you. "Whoa!" said Raining, sounding impressed. Wilson chuckled. "Oh, come on, Raining," he said. "You've seen the Allosaurus model before." He used the word model instead of skeleton because it was a copy of a skeleton, not a real fossilized skeleton. Raining shook his head, his mouth hanging open, and pointed up, way up, to the high ceiling of the big front room. Wilson looked up, too, to see what had his friend so impressed. "Whoa!" Wilson echoed when he realized what Raining was pointing at. Hanging there, with its huge wings spread wide and its long neck hanging down, was the new pterosaur model. Its enormous beak was open wide, as if it would caw like a giant bird. "Did you know that this pterosaur was the largest flying animal of all time?" Wilson told his friends. He stared up at the model hanging from chains from the ceiling. "It had a wingspan of up to 45 feet.
"Wow," said Clementine. "That's pretty amazing."
Wilson nodded. "Its name is pretty amazing, too," he said. "Quetzalcoatlus. I read that it was named for the god Quetzalcoatl. The Aztecs in Central America used to worship him. His name meant feathered serpent."
"I can see why," said Clementine.
She stepped around the big Allosaurus podium, gazing up at the Quetzalcoatlus as she walked.
"It must have looked like a terrible dragon."
Wilson thought it was probably way more amazing than some silly dragon from a story, but he didn't say so. Clementine was just like that, always coming up with creative stories.
"Maybe that's where the stories came from," said Amal, walking next to Clementine.
"Don't be silly," said Wilson. "There were no people around when this guy was flying around."
"I mean, maybe people found the bones and stuff," said Amal. "Just because I love space doesn't mean I have my head in the stars all the time."
The others laughed. Amal was absolutely obsessed with astronomy, which worked out well since her father was the head archivist at the Air and Space Museum. The four friends walked the whole length of the huge flying creature as the museum began to get crowded. It seemed like a lot of people were excited to see the pterosaur exhibit on its first day.
"Where should we go first?"
Clementine asked. Wilson opened his mouth to say, "To the pterosaur exhibit, of course." But before he could get a word out, there was a loud snap from above him. Someone shouted, "It's falling!" Wilson looked up, as did everyone else in the museum's front hall. as the largest flying animal to ever exist broke free of...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.